Aiden, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited. I'm excited for this podcast because not only Aiden is an amazing entrepreneur and is building his own company called Novelty, but we're going to be launching. He's going to be a co-host with me on Tribe Leaders podcast, which we're going to be launching soon. We'll talk about that soon as well. But why don't we start? I mean, you're 21. You're a co-founder in a company. You're building amazing things. You've always been a high achiever. Um, but if someone had to come to you and say, most people introduce themselves like, what do you do? But if I had to ask you, like, who are you and what do you stand for? How would you answer that question?
Well, what I do and what do I stand for are two very different questions. I'd say that right off the hop.
Yeah.
It's hard to categorize what I do because it really depends on who the person is that I'm talking to. Because I could be the third generation future owner of Thanksgiving Ranch, which is a family run operation, also the place that I live. I could
Yeah.
say that I'm the co-host and co-founder of Tribe Leaders podcast. I could say I'm a co-founder and chairman of Novelty, which is the fastest growing Web3 and AI based ticketing company in North America right now. So really, really depends on who I'm talking to.
Yeah. And when I ask, like, most people start with, like, what do you do, but instead of asking what do you do, I want to ask, who are you and what do you stand for?
I stand for a lot of things. It's hard to summarize it, especially in such short amount of time.
Mhm.
But I I like to think that my parents raised me very well. They raised me to um, look after my family, look after people in need, help out anyone that needs help, and just kind of be be a leader instead of a follower, and try and
Mhm.
help people in whatever way that I can, and be thoughtful and kind, and all of that.
Yeah. And I love that you talked about, like, be a leader, because that is we're having a little bit of a leadership crisis in the world with everything that's happening in the world right now. Let's not get into the political side of things, but we know what I'm referring to. But like, generally, there's a crisis around leadership and people standing up for what's right and helping people and being in service. And I almost see like the world is divided into two camps. There's the rulers and the leaders, right? If you
Hmm.
had to simplify it in that way. The rulers always want everyone else to praise them and lift them up. And the leaders are doing the opposite, where they're praising everyone else and lifting them up. And it's almost like the rulers are trying to have power over people, whereas leaders are trying to empower people. And it's
Well,
it's
that's
such a
how they stay in power, right?
yeah.
Is rulers, they need disruption amongst their followers
Mhm.
to avoid them coming together and rising against the rulers. And the more disruption that there is amongst the followers and the communities, the harder it is for them to come together and have
Yeah.
similar ideologies and disrupt.
Exactly. Yeah. So, did you know very early on that, because you said your parents instilled this, leadership ethos in you? Did you know that you had this leadership instinct in you and you recognize it? When did you become aware of it?
Not so late. So I was homeschooled
Okay.
till grade 7. I'm probably one of the only one of the few homeschoolers that you'd meet that turned out relatively normal in most people's eyes.
Okay.
But when I was really young, I wanted not attention, but I just wanted praise in a way. Like if I went to school at a young age and the older kids said go do this, I would have went and done it without hesitation, right? And my parents, thankfully, they saw that very early on and they instilled a lot of leadership skills into me. Took me to public speaking classes, Toastmasters, um, a lot of different things that helped me grow a lot of different skill sets that the average kid would not have. And it wasn't until after high school that I was able to fully tap into my potential because you can't really be a leader in high school because it's a hierarchy at the end of the day.
Yes. Yes. And who have inspired you? Like, so if you've recognized that you have this innate tendency to be a good leader, And of course, you're on your journey of finding your own leadership voice, and we all are, and we will continue to do that if you're aspiring to be a leader. Are there people out there in the world that you know are kind of your virtual role models or virtual mentors, or people who are in proximity with you that have inspired you to be a good leader? Any stories come to mind, or any people come to mind that you're like, wow, these people have really are doing amazing things in the world, and inspiring me to be a good leader every day?
Well, there's no one in particular, to be honest, that inspired me to become a leader. There's a lot of people that inspired me to become what I would say a entrepreneurial disruptor, trying to
Mhm.
go into an industry that was very not niche, is very developed. It's very solidified with a lot of different companies, but it a lot of people gave me the mindset and helped me not with the vision, but helped me with the courage. That's the word I'm looking for, to actually have the confidence in myself and my abilities to go and do something that I know is great. When a lot of people say that go to school, go do this, get a job, work a 9 to 5. And there's a lot of people that inspired me to do that. Not too many people inspired me to become a leader because there wasn't too many leaders around. I'd say my dad was in a similar role. He worked corporate, so that's kind of where I got a lot of my skills from. And he inspired me in a lot of different ways and taught me to be a man, just as any great dad would do. But
Yeah.
specifically to become a leader, I would say there's not a lot of stories that come to mind, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's hard in today's day and age where not many there are not many inspiring leaders out there generally, but the ones who
No.
are really stand out and actually are trying to make a difference.
Mhm.
And talking about leaders, I mean, this is something we're both trying to launch right now, which is the Tribe Leaders podcast, where impactful leaders gather to share stories about their hero's journey. And the whole ethos of this podcast is, can we basically create a channel where it's almost like a mentorship for the next generation of leaders, right?
Mhm.
As it says on the slide here, your own hero's journey is a way for impactful leaders like you to give back to the next generation of leaders. It's where we share our stories about overcoming struggles, challenges, and finding breakthroughs, and those breakthrough victories throughout our journey, right? And so when we first started talking about this purpose, which is like giving back to the next generation of leaders, um, like what caught your eye? What was something that inspired you going, yeah, we need to do this in the world. This is something, to help and inspire a whole new wave of entrepreneurs and reach a whole new audience of entrepreneurs across the globe, making decisions around their growing businesses. What inspired you about this whole idea?
Well, let's go back to when we first met and how we were introduced, because it was very, it worked out in ways that are very hard to explain. But I've
Yeah.
always like I never really liked to drink. I never liked to go party. I always liked to work. I like to do things that no one else was really doing. And I see being in, because my company Novelty is AI and Web3 based. I'm very aware of the technologies that are emerging, and I also see the way that artificial intelligence is disrupting critical thinking skills amongst the next generation. And I see how social media is really making young kids like myself, they get so addicted to these things, so
Yes.
addicted, and they can't fall asleep without scrolling TikTok or Instagram for half an hour, and they just doom scroll, and they're burning time, and it's really making them, and all the people that they watch on YouTube, they're not watching documentaries, they're watching people that are making them jealous because they don't have a wad of cash, they don't have that nice car, they don't have that nice watch, they don't have that massive house with the girlfriend. And they're not focused on the journey anymore. But the journey is what makes a person the people that we look up to. People that look up to some of the most inspirational people. It's not because they're rich. It's not because they live in a mansion. It's because of the journey that they went through to become that person. And I got on School, a platform that me and Sheldon were originally introduced on. And I wanted to create a community based platform where entrepreneurs like myself, even young kids in high school that were struggling with making friends or genuine and general connections, but it was a place that they could just learn and get taught how to network successfully. And I wanted to bring Sheldon in as an admin because I saw the amount of value that he was able to bring and the insight from his journey. And he's like, I had this idea just in a podcast format. And that was kind of the whole kickoff to the entire rest of this platform.
The origin story, let's just call it. That's what our origin story of some
It
of
was the origin
creating
story,
something.
yeah. And that was the first initial conversation that me and Sheldon had that wanted to where we both wanted to do something for the next generation and not do the average thing that people are doing, where they just bring people on to talk and go over political topics or specific things that are happening. But we really wanted to showcase the trials and tribulations that the people we look up to most and what they
Yes.
face throughout their years and careers.
Exactly. And then that's when this idea came together. It's like, hey, we should, like, two different generations here, a 41-year-old co-host and a 21-year-old co-host coming together to talk about, connecting the stories of, leaders from a different generation, also passing down wisdom to the next generation, and also, capturing the stories of new entrepreneurs. We are all
Yeah.
paving our path. We're all kind of creating, new stories and new ways of, finding our voice, finding a way to inspire others, finding a way to serve in business, because business is not just about the outcomes. When sometimes most people get stuck in the vanity metrics of it all, the likes and the money and the big kind of accolades. But it's really about service. It's about giving back to others. How do you see business evolving? Because now that you've been in business for a few years now, and you have Thanksgiving Ranch that you've been running as a general manager, and then now you're co-founder of Novelty as well.
Mhm.
How do you see business evolving for the next generation, especially from this whole, like, vanity metrics world that we have, the way it's portrayed on social media, the highlight reel world? Is it changing, or do we still have some work to do?
I think there's always work to do, and I think it's going to be ever evolving, right? Um, I don't know what direction it's going to go because with social media, most kids aren't going the route of let me start my own company, let me start my own organization. They're having the mindset of let me become an influencer, right? And
Mm.
prioritizing different things. So it's really changing and it's really evolving, and the direction that it's going is going to be very hard to see, and but I think it's going to become very clear within the next couple of years as well.
Yeah. And that's so true. You talked about, like, a lot of the next generation are either looking at being like an influencer
Hmm.
instead of being, and I see it as two different things. One is being an influencer where you're talking about yourself. It's a very
Hmm.
narcissistic way, actually, of going about things. And then you can be a key person of influence where you're influencing a just cause or a purpose or a mission in the world, where you're being an
Hmm.
influencer in that way, a key person. Like Steve Jobs was a key person of influence moving technology ahead, but he wasn't talking about Steve Jobs. He wasn't dancing in front of a TikTok video and doing that sort of stuff. But there's that's the difference where I'm seeing there's an influencer which is all about me and
Hmm.
look at me, versus, hey, let's look at this problem, or let's look at this solution, or let's look at this technology, or let's look at this advancement or just cause. Um, what
Most
advice?
people don't like to look at the problem though,
Yeah.
especially with let's use AI as an example. No one's really thinking about what it's going to disrupt. What's it doing to kids? What's it doing to teachers having to teach the effects and deal with kids using AI? They're
Mhm.
not going to think about those issues until those issues are punching them in the face.
Yeah.
But that's when they're going to start to look at it, but then by then it's going to be too late. That's just humanity in general. It even happened with COVID. Millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people were dying, and people were still like, nah, it's fake.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that was like a global experiment, right? If you think about it, like
it
COVID
was.
was like, I'm not calling it, it was an experiment, but for us, looking back in hindsight, looking at the data, it's like a big, looking at the data
It
for
showed a
global
lot.
experiment. It showed a lot. And yes, there
Mhm.
was such disparity amongst people, and what we believed in as well. And that was the time where, leadership was really the leaders were called to step up.
Hmm.
The world was in crisis. We were like, the news was just like, everything was bad news at that time. People were stuck in their homes, difficult to actually make good decisions. And that's where, we saw people who were in so-called leadership positions were crumbling, and the true
Hmm.
leaders started to step up, and showcase what they can do. What was your journey during that time, the pandemic? Like, where were you at when the pandemic was
High
going on,
school.
2020 to now? You were in high school?
Yeah, for the last, it started to kick off in my last year of high school, so grade 12. And after, well, no, started to kick off in grade 11. Grade 12 was when we were stuck at home.
Hmm.
And by the end of year 3, that's actually when I traveled to Peru.
Really?
Yeah.
What were you doing in Peru?
I went there to study the Michelin star restaurant chain with a bunch of chefs over there, and just learn and grow myself as a person, develop a lot of new skills, see a lot of new things, and experience a lot of things that the, again, average kid would not be able to experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's such a big decision. I mean, I guess that was there some, like, you do run the Thanksgiving ranch, and so was there a correlation between that? Like, you want to improve? Um,
I wouldn't say I run the ranch. I help out. I have my niche on the ranch. My
okay.
dad is the mastermind. He has been able to bring this place from an empty log house that my grandparents used to live in to a
Mhm.
5-star luxury bed and breakfast resort,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it. Um, my job on the ranch is primarily sous chef. So if we have a lot of guests, which we have 10 guests showing up later today, I'll help my dad cook and
Yeah.
throw out ideas that I can to
That's just
yeah, to bring it to the next level and take people on guest rides and do all that stuff. So we each have our own niche and our own way on the ranch. But yeah,
Yeah, and it's a beautiful ranch. I mean, the first time I saw it, I haven't been there myself, but I just was on the website, and then the first time Aiden and I were talking, he moved his laptop and he showed me the view of the Rocky Mountains. I was like, dude, and it had like a little bit of like sprinkled snow on it. I was like, that is amazing. What a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful ranch as well, and I know a lot of people come there and have a great time and stuff like that. And so
hmm,
from there, you went to Peru, right? And
yeah.
you were trying to improve your skills as a chef, but also, just growing as well. And then from what happened from there to you joining Novelty as a co-founder? Like, how did that happen? What's the origin story behind Novelty?
That's a little bit of a life story. So came back from
Okay.
Peru, didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life. I was every high school kid. That's a problem that we all face. But I thought, what was I good at? And it sounds so stupid looking back on it, but I was really good at throwing parties in high school. And
Yeah.
I live in the middle of nowhere. Like I'm 30 minutes from the nearest town, and there's not a lot of kids that live in that town either. And I had guys driving over 3 hours to come to parties at my house with DJs. I had promotions with hotels for kids that stayed at the hotels. I had taxi services for kids that, because I obviously don't promote any sort of drinking or driving or anything like that. So I
Yeah.
made sure that everyone was safe. It was a full operation, complete, fully stacked operation. And I thought to myself, why not make that a legit business? So I ended up creating my first company, which was Spotlight Management, which was
Mhm.
an event production company. We organized festivals, concerts, general performances all over Canada. And it showed me the industry and it gave me a foot in the door. But I got really sick of dealing with promoters and the greed that was involved in it. And I wanted to make a difference.
Like, what do you mean by
And
greed involved in it? Like, what was can you
people
zoom in a
just
little
they
to the
wanted to
point?
make money. They like
Okay.
that's all it was. They wanted to make money, and it wasn't trying to throw events that would change people or affect them in a good way. It was just how much money can I make, how much liquor can I sell and get these kids as drunk as possible so I make a
Mhm.
dollar. It wasn't my thing. but it gave me all the information that I needed to pursue another opportunity, which I found on the last event that my company threw. And that was an investment opportunity into a company called Novelty. And it was in the family and friends round of investing. And I put just over six figures of money into it and bought 8% of the company. And I've been with them ever since.
Nice. And
Mm.
what was it about that company that you wanted to be part of? Like something must have been like their mission or their vision or what they were
Mhm.
trying to change in the world that caught your eye and you're like, wow, I want to do this. Or was it just like good people that you wanted to join?
D, all of the above. Um,
Okay.
the people that were involved, amazing, very similar to myself, very good mindsets, very genuine, very driven. Um, and it became my best friends after I got to know them a little bit more. But the mission of the company was the one thing that really intrigued me. With all the issues that you see in the ticketing industry with excessive processing fees, ticket
Mhm.
scalping, there's so many issues that I could drone on and on about. This company wasn't just building something that was going to make a buck. It was built and designed, and our systems were built and designed in a way that it helped event organizers and attendees change the game, make more money for themselves, no processing fees that are excessive to event organizers. The whole system was built on bettering the industry for attendees and organizers alike. And I really like that because it actually made a difference.
Mhm.
And that's why I wanted to get involved.
Yeah. And it's almost like what you were doing earlier in the event space inspired you to join this as well. Because would
Mhm.
you have been inspired to join this group if you hadn't done anything in the event space? And
No,
it's funny how life presents these moments to us and almost like structures this for us as we go along. And now you're
I,
here doing something in the event space.
I would have seen the value in it
Yeah.
because obviously I'm like, I did my due diligence and everything like that. But it gave me more insider information than I would have had.
Yes. And also you experience the pain on the event side, like seeing all of that, you've seen how the event industry works. You
Mhm.
actually were running events, and there was some sort of, so was there like, I always try to ask people like, what was the pain that is converting into purpose for you later on in your life or right now in your life? Was there something that was like, wow, this is so painful, and I've experienced this pain and now I want to take this and try to convert this into some sort of purpose with what I'm doing in my life? Or yeah. So was there something there that you were like, yeah, I want to take this and move this ahead and better this in some way?
I wouldn't say it's very, it didn't originate with novelty, but um,
Mhm.
with my family, I always wanted to retire my parents and everything. And I see the amount of work that running a ranch is not an easy business. It's
Yes.
not just go out, call the cows, feed them grass. Like it is a fully functioning pedal to the metal all summer long corporation, and it's massive and it's not easy. And I see the amount of work that my parents go through. So just building something that is better for people and also that is going to help me create my own goals and
Yes.
successfully complete those goals as of retiring my parents. That was one of the things that drove me the most.
And that's so beautiful. I mean, it family inspiring you to kind of, better yourself and make something out of yourself. But it's also, I think it's the seeds that they planted in you,
Hmm.
your parents, are kind of like now have taken root and are, flourishing and blooming. What advice would you give to someone out there who's kind of in high school or is an early stage entrepreneur right now, trying to figure it out? And they probably maybe like you who are sort of a high achiever, but they are confused or they're trying to figure it out. And there's so much of noise in the world, right? So how should they go about finding themselves and finding, the direction, their path that they're looking for? Any advice for them? Like what would you whisper into your younger version, the years of your younger version of yourself, and be like, hey, if you only knew this.
Listen to your gut.
Okay.
And if you don't know how to, or if you don't know what your gut's saying, that's because you've ignored it for so long that you've lost that intuition.
Hmm.
Um, so listen to your gut, because
Yeah.
it has an interesting way of leading you in the right direction, and do as many things as you can.
Yes.
Like, even if it's at a restaurant and you order chicken fingers, order something new. Try something new. Put yourselves in situations that you're going to be uncomfortable with and grow yourself mentally, physically, just in every single way possible.
Yeah.
I think that's good advice for anyone.
Yeah, exactly. And it's difficult. You're right. So many people have lost that instinct or that
Yeah.
intuition, right? And there's a difference, right? There's an instinctual thing, which is like, don't go into that dark alley at night. That's an instinct. Or there's your intellect that comes in. It's like, hey, I know how to do this. I'm basing this off information that I have. And then there's the intuition, which is very
Yeah.
heart based. And in fact, there's a lot of research around Heart Math Institute talking about, the heart having its own neural network and giving you that kind of information based on, because it's sensing everything, and your heart
Hmm.
is what's that neural network of your heart is what's sensing, whether to protect you and guide you and all of that, and it's sending information up to your brain. And in fact, the pathways, the gut and the heart send more information to the brain than the other way around. That's what the
Hmm.
research is showing. How can, like, if someone has lost touch with that, right? Because you're saying follow that, but say someone has lost touch with that, did you always have that in you, or and how would you advise someone going, I don't know, what do you mean follow my instincts? What the heck are you talking about, Aiden? What does that even mean? Like, how would you help them to like sense and understand that?
Comes with practice. If you don't put yourselves in new situations and you don't try and develop new skills, you're not going to have the opportunities to listen to
Hmm.
your gut, because you're not going to be doing anything that your gut can actually tell you and motivate you to do this.
Hmm.
So that would be the first step, I'd say. But for
Yeah.
me personally, I was always very blessed that I had good gut intuition.
Hmm.
For I don't know,
Yes.
just it came naturally to me.
Yeah. And is that because you're someone who naturally is not consumed by fear and anxiety? Because there's a lot of that out there
Oh
in
no,
our
I
mind,
am.
in our
Don't
limbic
get me
system.
wrong.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. I have just as much
Mhm.
anxiety and fear as everyone else. Like, I'm not I'm not superhuman. Don't get me wrong. Um, it's just I have the confidence in myself to know that I'm on the right path.
Yeah.
It,
And where
it's
does that?
not that I'm not fearful or I don't have anxiety.
Mhm.
That's something that everyone struggles with. But
Exactly. Yeah. But where does that confidence come from? Because some people are sitting out there, they have their fear and anxiety, but they don't have the confidence. How do they even start? Like, where do they, like, yes, go watch more YouTube videos, the whole, like, but and what, read books and stuff like that. But internally, there's this confidence that you're talking about, which I can feel and tell that you have the conviction within yourself. Someone struggling out there doesn't have that.
hmm there's a lot of people that back in high school, I remember giving this advice to a couple of people, and I hope people don't sexualize it, but if you're struggling with self confidence and self image issues and whatnot, get naked and stand in front of a mirror
Mhm.
and just stare at yourself and start thinking good thoughts and start talking good. I like my eyes. I like my body. I have good hair. And just instead of having those negative reactions and those immediate negative thoughts, rewire your brain to think differently. And it's not
Right.
something that happens overnight. It's not something that happens in a week or a month or a year, but it's consistency. And that's something I think would help anyone that's struggling with self-image or self-confidence issues, is just rewiring their brain, putting themselves in those awkward situations, and after a while it becomes easier, and you start to look at yourself and you're like, okay, wow, I have nice eyebrows, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. So that's what you do. You just stand in front of the mirror and say to yourself, have I have nice eyebrows. And I'm just kidding. But It's great advice. It's the consistency. It's the rewiring part that you're talking about is so important. Like this is you found a modality to do this while you're building your self confidence by giving yourself positive reinforcement, right? And unfortunately, when we look at what's out there, and even on social media, and so many people talking, there's almost like the opposite happening. People are negatively reinforcing themselves, and then wonder why they're manifesting the same old nonsense again and again.
Well, that's what
Instead,
social media does. So, like,
yeah,
no one goes on social media, no matter how famous you are. No one on social media just gets love. Majority of the stuff that you see on social media is hate. It's negativity.
yes. And even the
But I think,
news, like, it's just
yeah,
crazy.
even the news.
Social media news, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why, like, and the nudity part is the awkward part. But that's the part that gets
Mm.
you out of your comfort zone, and it pushes you out of your comfort zone. And once you get out of your comfort zone, that's when the growth really happens.
Yeah.
So
That
it's
is so
it's just
true.
doing those new things.
Yeah. And the consistency, as you said, it's not like you
Hmm.
can do it once. Everyone wants a magic pill. Like once, I do it once, and what's the one thing I can do? Like, no, what's the one thing that you can do consistently for a year?
Hmm.
That gives some
It's
results, right?
I don't know who I was talking about this with the other day, but a foundation.
Yes.
What's the most important part of a house? The foundation, the roof, or the walls?
The
The
foundation.
foundation.
And yes.
Because without a strong foundation, the rest of the house is, pardon my French, but it's shit. It's gonna fall
Yes.
apart. It's gonna sink. It's gonna crumble. It's not strong.
Yeah.
So starting from the ground up, loving yourself before you love someone else, loving what you do before doing anything is the foundation before anything.
Yes.
So
Yeah. And
build that
almost like,
foundation and then grow from there.
yeah, that's so true. And the foundation could be the practices, the rituals, the routines that you have
Mhm.
that are positively reinforcing yourself. And for me personally, it has worked where I try to, if I'm in a loop of anxiety or fear or whatever is coming through, I try to get out of my own head and be like, who else can I help? Can I get out
So
of my own head and go
I get
help
it in my
someone?
head so many times. That's one of the biggest things that I struggle with is overthinking. I
Yeah,
am
me
a
too.
That's a huge, huge problem that I've always struggled with. And I meditate because of it now. And just getting my mind right and in a place that I know I can go through the rest of the day, re reinforce my confidence, reevaluate things, take a step back if I need to, and really analyze what's happening and just get myself out of that situation and then work on the foundation.
Yeah. And like, is meditation something that's a new thing that you've added into your kind of foundational routines and practices? And
Oh
how
yeah.
much has that shifted you? Like, because this is a huge thing that's been talked about right now everywhere, and people are getting into meditation a lot, and it's been around for
Mhm.
like generations, but it's getting into that. It's in that cool zone now, right?
Mm.
Meditation is not a woo woo thing or the what the 70s hippies did. It's
Yeah.
actually, and there's scientific evidence around its effects. How has it shifted things for you?
It's helped me. That's, I'm a very confident person. Don't get me wrong, but
I can
like
tell
I've
that.
always struggled with overthinking and everything, and those are all mental issues.
Yeah.
And it's always the mental strength behind something. So having that meditation and the 15 minutes, at 15 minutes,
Mhm.
most kids, most adults are. I met kids in the Amazon that scroll on Instagram or TikTok for more than 15 minutes a day. If you can scroll on Instagram or TikTok for 15 minutes a day, you can meditate for 15 minutes a day. It's just what you want to do, and if you're determined enough to actually become a better person.
Yeah.
But having that consistency and just taking a step back, reevaluating, focusing on breath, and
Mhm.
just settling the mind is
Yeah.
a huge thing.
Yeah. Because it's that noise, right? We're stuck in this loop of this noise on social media and everything. You wake up And then when you're training yourself, that's the practice as well, just constantly scrolling and looking at doom scrolling or whatever you're doing, or even just being addicted to the scroll. Now you wake up with that kind of restless mind that you're constantly like trying to think your way out of life. Whereas, as you
Mhm.
said, you can just settle into the intuition of your heart and just like be and stop doing for a moment, because we live like, it almost feels like we are in a human doing world, not a human being world.
Mhm.
and, and people have forgotten how to be just with themselves and just be with their just breath and just presence and calmness. There's so much of that noise that just drops when you can do that, and it's very powerful. It's something that I didn't do for a very long time, and now meditation is a huge part of my life, and breath
Mhm.
work and stuff like that. It completely changed my whole relationship with myself, my biochemistry, and everything else.
Mhm.
And I think this is becoming a new trend in entrepreneurship as well, because entrepreneurship is a cool thing today, right? It wasn't like people didn't even know how to pronounce the word entrepreneurship when I was 20. They're like, what is that? Is it a new French dish? Like,
For
no.
me for me, I used to not like saying I was an entrepreneur because to me, it was the stigma that was around it was, "Oh, you're an entrepreneur." That's just a really fancy way of saying that you don't have a job.
You're self-employed without a paycheck.
Yeah,
Yes.
basically, yeah.
Yeah.
I used
Yeah.
to hate it. I used to hate it until I
And
owned
has
it.
it changed now?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I own
Yeah.
that shit.
Yeah. So what shifted for you in your journey of becoming an entrepreneur?
I always knew I was gonna be an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
always. I could never work for someone else. What changed about I'll answer the question in a different way. I'll rephrase it. What
Okay.
changed for me about not accepting the word entrepreneur to accepting the word entrepreneur was something that social media also really affects people with. They're so focused on what other people think of them.
Mm.
Stop
Yeah.
giving a fuck. That's it.
Yeah.
Stop caring what other people think of you. Take it on the chin, walk away, laugh it off, take another step forward.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's this obsession out there, because social media is built for you to think about everyone else and compare
It's
yourself to
designed
everyone
that way.
else. It's
It's
designed
designed
that
that way.
way,
Same
and
way
it
a
keeps you.
casino is designed to make you spend money.
Yeah.
From the lights to the music to the colors to the carpets, everything you see is designed to get you to do a certain thing.
Yeah.
Snapchat. When you get a Snapchat notification, that sound is a scientifically designed sound to make you perk up like a dog with a whistle.
Yes.
Everything's designed to get you to stay on that app.
Hmm. And keep you on that app,
Mhm,
and it just keeps scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then you're just stuck in this loop, right? This
mhm,
hamster wheel, right? Yeah. And it's there's so much that can be done as a creator on social media, right?
mhm.
But most people are consumers, and this we are stuck in this. I see this two different parts as well: a consumer mindset versus the creator mindset. A creator can do a lot of things, like even just looking at like platforms like YouTube or LinkedIn, where like majority of the people are just consuming, very few
Yep,
are creating. And that entrepreneurship mindset or a leadership mindset is all about creating things by yourself, creating things with others, collaborating, making a difference in people's lives.
mhm,
um, Everyone's stuck on that consumer mindset.
yep. Like, I don't use I used to. I used to when I was in high school, but I've changed a lot of things. I used to use Snapchat. I don't use Snapchat anymore. I had TikTok for a few months. I read the terms and conditions, and I deleted it. And no one reads terms and conditions. Um,
No, they just
but
hit the checkbox and move on. Right.
yeah, go
Yeah.
do your research. Look at what they're taking. Look at what they're learning from you. And it's the same with Instagram. Don't get me wrong, or any other social media platform. But TikTok, Snapchat, I don't use Instagram. Don't get me wrong. I like to use. That's primarily the app that I text my girlfriend on, so I use it a fair amount. But reason you can actually get value from it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Well, let's shift gears a little bit to your own hero's journey because we're talking about this Tribe Leaders podcast that we're going to be launching. And it's all about hero's journey, and we've covered a fair bit of it. But a part that about that we talk about is like what are the stories of overcoming struggles and challenges that have helped you to find some breakthroughs in your life? Is there a moment, a memory, a story of struggle and challenges that you've gone through that has really shaped you into who you are today?
Yeah, yeah, tons, tons. I'll set an example because for
Mm.
most people that are going to be coming onto this podcast, we want your God honest stories. We want the stories that are really going to move people and change their perspective. So I'll set an example right now. Growing up, I was very fortunate that me, my mom, and my dad could go on hikes or go do something. We could go travel, whatnot. My mom got struck by lightning when she was 14 years old.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Oof.
And when I was probably 17 ish, she had
Mhm.
a bad reaction to some antibiotics. And the doctors do not know what's happening. No one knows what's happening. She's what you would call a medical anomaly. And she's been slowly regressing health wise, and not
Okay.
and she's not dying or anything like that. But she went from being able to walk, getting on her own horse, to now she has to walk with a cane, sometimes a wheelchair. She can't get on
Mm.
a horse. She's just been slowly regressing. So having that happen right in front of your eyes is hard. Is really
Yeah.
hard. And it pushes you and it forces you to work a little bit harder to get them out of the situations that they're in.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I want to retire. I want to buy my parents a bungalow wherever they want, whatever part of the world they want. So she doesn't have to worry about the banks, money, work, or anything ever again.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a good aspiration to have. And this is what I was talking about earlier. Like, sometimes we get shaped by the challenges and the struggles, the hardship or the pain or whatever it is. And it might be our own pain, or might be looking at someone else's pain. And in this case, you're talking about your mom, regressing in her health, and you wanting to, find a way to help, buy this bungalow, but it's a symbol of support and love,
Mhm.
and taking care of them and making sure that they have everything that they need, and they don't have to, you know, jump to the whims and fancies of this world, kind of thing. So that's beautiful. Such a cool story. What else? I mean, is there anything else in your, early days back, if you go back to your school days and stuff like that, that shaped your personality? Because it's someone out there is going, wow, look at this guy, Aiden. He's so confident in himself. Like, he must have had a very easy life, right? That's why he's so confident. And I know
Yeah.
that's not true because we've had some different chats. But someone, if someone's thinking that, like, oh, he's had an easy life, he's a good looking guy, he's probably, yeah, he everything has been easy, that's why he's so confident. Give them a glimpse into Aiden and some of the struggles you went through, as as in school or as a child or something like that, where that has shaped you into being this confident person today.
There's too many. There's too many.
Pick one that comes to mind, which is like, that has really helped you.
My brother helped me. So my brother's a welder. Me and him are day and night, day and night, complete opposites.
Right.
And
He's your older brother or
yeah,
younger?
4 years
Like
older than me.
4 years older than you. Okay. Right.
Yeah, he used to work in the pipelines. So not the pipelines. He used to be a welder on the pipelines. And it is not an easy life. It is not nice. It's not pleasant. It's full of drugs and abuse and bullying for
Mhm.
very simple terms. And when I say bullying, I mean like bullying, like
Yes.
racist, misogynistic, narcissistic. It is just the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
And he really helped me grow a thick skin. And so many people, and I mean so many people. I have one friend, two friends. Well, yeah, two friends that I still talk to from high school. I cut everyone off from high school. I hated it. I hated high school. It was the worst
Why?
time of my life
Why was it the worst time of your life? Like a
because I
lot of
was
people have high
separate,
school
or
stories.
I was forced to be with people that were nothing like me, and
Mm,
that's a horrible. That's like tossing a that's like tossing a wild animal in a zoo with a bunch of animals that were raised in the zoo.
right.
It's not a pleasant experience. Teachers were horrible. I had one teacher that was great. One teacher. I wouldn't have graduated without him. His name's Mr. Tachak. Shout out Mr. T. But
Hey, shut
with,
up.
without that, I'd be a very different person. And my first day of public school, I got suspended for fighting because a kid threw my brand new gym shoes that my parents worked very hard to buy in the toilet and flushed them down. And I'm gonna defend my property. That was my first day of school.
Set the
Nothing
stage.
about everything I've done has been easy, but I've had the ability to brush it off and take another step forward.
Hmm. Yeah. And where did that tenacity come from? Like some people would, you can either fight, flight, or freeze, but you kept
Blood,
pushing
sweat, and
through.
tears and determination. What am I gonna do? Sit down, cry, and wish the pain away?
Mhm.
No. Get up, fight, and push through it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard, right? Because most people would actually just freeze or just, retreat. But you were like, no, I'm not. I'm going to stand up for myself. I'm going to push through. I'm going to fight. I'm going to find a way. And I'm sure that version of you, that whose shoes were put down the toilet, was very upset and very angry, and didn't know
Oh,
why this person was behaving like that, right? Like, why would someone treat someone like that? And this happens like all the time. This bullying sort of stuff in the world.
and and that was the pretty boy of the class, right?
Right.
He was a model at the time, and like he was
Mm,
just one of those kids that's just like, I'm better than you, little snotty, little snooty. And I did not like that. like
yeah.
I did not like that. So having him do that, it was just that pinnacle moment where it was just like, okay, this is what
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to deal with.
Yes. And how has that shaped you as of like for today? Because all of those moments shape us, right? It shapes us in different ways. Like, and it's probably brought in a lot of courage in your heart and stuff like that, and you become a stronger person. But how are you today different, or more who you are, or accepted everything that you are because of those reasons? Like, is there any wisdom here that you've picked up along the way, lessons and blessings from those hardships?
I'll give you one.
Mhm.
Never judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
The bully is usually the bully because something is happening in his life that's making
Mm,
him want to lash out. He's not
that's
lashing out
beautiful.
at you. He's just lashing out, and you just happen to be the poor victim. But never judge a
Yes.
book by its cover because you never know what someone's going through, ever.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. I think that's beautiful wisdom right there, because if you can see them from that light going, oh, there's something else going on here, and it's not just me. I didn't do anything. This person just going through something and they're just lashing out and taking it out on me. Then
Yeah.
you give yourself the opportunity to grow. You give yourself the opportunity to be like, okay, detach yourself from the entanglement that was there, and then find a way to like evolve in yourself as well. And I think, I keep coming back to entrepreneurship and leadership, because that's almost the whole journey of entrepreneurship and leadership is about evolution of oneself, and finding, new ways of stepping into these new identities that you have to step into. Something that I've noticed a lot with entrepreneurs, and I speak to a lot of them, especially who are in like high growth startups and stuff like that, they struggle with shifting the mindset from being the entrepreneur who's building the thing to being the leader who's now empowering others to build with them.
Mhm.
Have you, is there any advice, or have you gone through a journey like this, where you're like, oh wow, I'm going through that myself, or I've seen this happen a lot in the industry, that's shifting from an entrepreneurship mindset to a leadership mindset?
No, because
You
to
haven't gone
me,
through
I've
that
always
process?
tried to make them go hand in hand.
Okay, tell me
The
more about that.
entrepreneurial side of things is hard. It's tough, but you can't do it without being a leader. So I've
Yes.
always tried to prioritize not one over the other, but both at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. And many struggle with that, having that connection, because many get into entrepreneurship, one, because they don't want to work for someone else and they want to have control over things. Right? That's some one reason why people get into entrepreneurship, and then they realize, holy shit, this is really hard.
Mhm,
And then they struggle with letting go, because leadership is all about letting go and letting someone else come in and help as well. And
mhm,
in fact, you have to be the one empowering them, right? And I've noticed that a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling with this out there, or at least who are trying to be entrepreneurs and trying to shift into that. If they're building the company and trying to be leaders, like having that kind of connection, what you're saying from the get-go, you were like, I'm an entrepreneur and a leader. It goes hand in hand. Not everyone
mhm.
sees it that way. Yeah.
I'll give you an example of why it goes hand in
Yeah.
hand. If you're
Sure.
an entrepreneur, being a good entrepreneur is not being good at everything. Or no, sorry, being
Yeah.
a good leader is not getting good at everything that you can teach everything that you've learned. Being a good
Yeah.
leader and entrepreneur is bringing in specific people that are good at specific things and creating a team that is unstoppable. That's
Yeah.
a good entrepreneurial leader.
Yes. Absolutely. It's attracting the right people.
Mhm.
And
Not even just
and
attracting. Sometimes you have to find them, but just
yes.
having having the courage, I'll say, because not a lot of people can
Mhm.
say that I'm not good at this, but the
Yeah.
courage to say that you're better at me, or you're better at this than I am. Can you help me?
Yes. Yes.
That's
Yeah.
something not a lot of people can do, but that's what makes a good company go from a good company to an amazing company.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that. And it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of awareness as well to be
Yeah.
like, oh, you're like Steve Jobs used to say that, right? Hire people who are smarter than you and then ask them to tell you what to do, not the other way around,
Mhm,
right? But it takes a lot of awareness and courage to be like, yeah, I know, and not be intimidated by smarter people. Like this is
mhm.
the problem that I see out there. Like a lot of people were like, oh, I'm smart and I have to be the smartest one in the room and I have to know all the answers because I'm the entrepreneur and the leader. That's the
If you're the
biggest flaw.
smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, exactly. Get in better rooms
Yeah.
with better people.
Because if you're the smartest person in the room, you're not in a room where you can grow yourself. Mentally,
Exactly.
emotionally, you're not gonna have any growth. Change your
Yeah.
room.
Change your room, change your people, change your
Yep.
life. Yeah, it's so true. And that is, I would say that is something that everyone should take away from this, which is great wisdom that Aiden's dropping here, which is you have to be able to bring in people. Firstly, bring in, find, attract, whatever people who are smarter than you, better than you in other areas of your business, so that you can empower them to take charge and be more creative and innovative with whatever they're trying to do. And your job as a leader and entrepreneur is to empower them. That's the main job of an entrepreneur, especially if you're running the company, right, or
Mhm.
a co-founder in the company. And there's no other way to do that, right? So let's wrap the podcast. Is there any like final advice you'd give to people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs and leaders out there, who are starting their journey, or who are on the journey and trying to grow their company? What advice could you give them to help them to keep growing in the right direction?
Don't give up.
That is
Don't
really
give
good
up.
advice, actually. As simple as it sounds, it's really good advice, because most people give up too soon and
Yeah.
they're not consistent enough. So, do you want to expand on that a little bit? Like, is there, how did you learn that wisdom?
Things are
Like,
never always easy. Things have highs and lows, but
mhm,
have the confidence and the awareness to know what's happening, when it's happening, and just don't give up. Keep trying,
yeah,
keep pushing. If you need to take a step back and reevaluate, take a step and reevaluate, but then take a step forward, and then take another step forward, and then take another step forward, and
yes,
keep doing that until you reach your goals. Otherwise, you're never going to reach your goals.
that's right. Like I was just looking up this thing by Alex Hormozi where he talks about this valley of despair, the five 5 stages of an entrepreneur. Maybe I'll try to bring it up on the screen, if I can, just very quickly. It's exactly what you're talking about over here, right? It's most people. Yeah, add this to stage here. Most people, I've just brought this up on. They start here with this, uninformed optimism, right? That's the first stage. Then they go to informed pessimism, and then they hit this valley of despair. This valley of despair is basically, the area where most people quit. And then what happens in the valley of despair is they start something again, a new shiny object, and and with uninformed optimism again, go through informed pessimism, and then come back to the valley of despair. And they keep what you're talking about is push through success. Don't give up. Keep going, because through that you will go into informed optimism and then success and fulfillment from there on. And most people struggle in this area, valley of despair. They're constantly there,
And
constantly
I'll tell
pushing.
you why.
Yeah.
You can't learn any. Well, I'm not gonna say you can't. You won't learn as much from your successes as you will your failures. You learn
Yes.
more from your failures than you do your successes. Celebrate your successes, enjoy them,
Yes.
cherish them, hold on to them. But failing is not a bad thing. It's not,
Yeah.
and that's a stigma that's been around for years. You have to fail to get better. You have to
Yes.
learn how to fail, not gracefully. You can fail horribly. Your company could go bankrupt, but all of those lessons that you learned from that are going to help your next company become that $1 million enterprise.
Exactly. Exactly. And have that kind of experimentation mindset, right? Because most people
Yeah.
are either in that, pessimistic mindset, like, oh, I don't think anything will work. That's where most people are. And if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, that's a bad place to be in. The second type of mindset is perfectionist mindset. They're trying to perfect step one. No, take 100 steps and you find answers along the way. Stop trying to
Mhm.
perfect step number one. So the last one, which I try to go back to, is always experimentation mindset, which
Most
is like,
people don't
hey,
even get to step number one. They stay at,
hmm,
how do I start this? How do I do this? How do I
yeah,
blah 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 blah. Just do it. Do something.
do something.
I didn't
Move.
know what to post on LinkedIn when I started posting. I didn't know what the hell I was doing,
Yeah,
but I just posted something, and then I started just learning, failing, learning. I had so many connections. No connections were responding. Okay, why are these connections not responding? Am I
hmm,
not bringing enough value into my original message? Is there typos? Am I making it a little too robotic?
hmm.
Learn from what you're doing wrong, because that's where you're going to learn how to grow.
Exactly. And we have to get away from the stigma of failure. Like failure is nothing, just a stepping stone towards, success. It's learning, right?
Yep,
And we should be failing fast, failing more, experimenting more, and the data and the insights will give us the answers of what we need to do next. But we're trying to, like in the old school traditional school, like read the textbook and blurt out and vomit out the answers on the paper kind of thing approach. That's not life and entrepreneurship or business or whatever, right? It's
no,
about just going out and trying more. It's in the tries where we will find the answers.
no.
Yeah. Yeah, great advice. Great advice, Aiden. Thank you so much. This was great. I enjoyed this conversation a lot with you. Thank you for jumping on the podcast with me. We're definitely going to be having you on more of these as well. And of
Oh, we
course, we'll
got
be
some
doing,
cool ones happening in the future.
yeah, and we've got this Tribe Leaders podcast coming up as well. So happy to be starting this journey with you. We will go out there and create more tries for ourselves, learn from the journey, fail fast, learn fast, and keep growing together and helping others along the journey. That's the whole point, is giving back
Exactly.
to the next generation of entrepreneurs as well. So thank you.
Whatever
Thank
you
you.
give comes back 10 times more.
10 times more. That's 10x. That's 10x goodwill, value, kindness, love, compassion, and just growth. Yeah. Let's do
Exactly.
it. Yeah. Cheers. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Bye.